What does being scapegoated as a child have to do with our ability to take responsibility and even how we react to blame as an adult? I'm Rachel Hansen, a licensed clinical social worker. Let's talk about scapegoating. Growing up in a dysfunctional family home, oftentimes there are many things that contribute to the dysfunction of the home. But people who are dysfunctional do not see it that way. So they pick a person, it's usually a child because children are defenseless, but they pick a person to then put all of the blame on. This often means getting blamed, punished, or shamed for things that really are not the responsibility or the fault of the child. And sometimes maybe the child has some fault, but the punishment or the blame is over the top. So in dysfunctional family units, it's far too much work for each adult to look at how they've contributed to the problems in the family. And it's a lot easier to point fingers at someone else. This often becomes what we call the scapegoat. You may have heard it referred to as the black sheep of the family. And when people grow up being scapegoated or being the black sheep of the family, we see a lot of fallout. And I worked in addictions for many years, and one thing that was very common with the people that I worked with who were struggling with addiction is, I would say the majority of them, if not 100% of them, described themselves as a scapegoat, as the black sheep of the family. When you grow up as the scapegoat in a dysfunctional family, taking the blame not only feels dangerous, but it can be dangerous. As an adult, we grow up to equate taking blame with responsibility. Pushing blame on other people, on systems, on other situations feels a lot more safe than taking that responsibility for ourselves. And this is why a lot of people who have been scapegoated as a child struggle as an adult in taking responsibility for their own decisions. And sometimes even things that we don't need to blame anyone about, we still find a way to blame other people because it feels safer to find someone else to blame than to even say that there's no one to blame for this. Basically, your nervous system learned that having a fault or making a mistake is equal to a threat, and that accountability feels incredibly unsafe. So what might help is to have a compassionate reframe for yourself. That blaming is often a trauma adaptation. It's not a character flaw. Even when you were a child, passing on the blame to somebody else was probably a pretty smart way to survive, right? If it was your fault, you were going to get beat, you were going to get shamed, you were going to be harshly punished in other ways. Taking responsibility isn't about blame, it's about freedom and agency. It's about being able to move through this world, being proud of our decisions and the things that we've done. And not looking to blame everyone for everything that goes wrong. Sometimes things just go wrong and it's not anyone's fault. Using supports like therapy and friends and anything that makes you feel good about yourself, whether it's listening to music, watching fun YouTube videos, going for a walk, these are ways that you can start to pull yourself out of that blame spiral. If you think you might want support in understanding how scapegoating has affected you personally and how you can start to take accountability and responsibility for your life, feel free to reach out. My link is in the bio somewhere around here, or you can go to thrivewelltherapy.com.